Hello, custom car enthusiasts, and welcome back to Car Mechanic Simulator 2018. In the last episode, we started on this vehicle, which is one of the story vehicles, by replacing or repairing pretty much everything under the hood. So the engine and all of its parts now are fully refreshed. Now we need to tackle the alignment, the wheels, everything of that nature. So I'm going to start by disassembling everything here that I definitely need to, such as this brake disc. And then we'll go ahead and turn our attention to what else is needing to be repaired. Yeah, that definitely doesn't look that great. I did want to comment, I definitely appreciate feedback from everybody when they do comment on any of my videos, and I try to address that feedback as best I can. And in the last video, somebody raised a very valid point that I wanted to talk about here. In that last video, I did not intentionally, but I may have given the impression that by replacing the parts as I was doing it, or repairing all the parts as I was doing, that I am somehow saving the customer money. That's not what I was intending to come across there. What I was saying with it is, this is how, if this was the real world, is how I would want to run my business. I don't want to take off a few parts knowing that the parts that are attached to them are still really bad. So that's the way I'm going to do things in the game is I want to, anything I've pretty much touched, I want to make sure is 100% by either repairing it or by replacing it when necessary. I do recognize that that does cost a bit more money for myself when I'm doing that, uh, because in the cases where, like, when I repair something, it breaks, things of that nature, I do have to replace that part. But my thing is, as I said, I do want to sort of play the game in the way of this is how I would run this if it were my business. And I'm unwilling at this point to do things in a sort of halfway manner. So, for example, I mean, I could just deal with that side of the front alignment here and probably not even take off some of these parts. But my thing is, if I'm going to address the issues here, I want to address all the issues. And while some of the parts might have been acceptable, they're badly worn. So I want to go that extra little bit of effort and make sure that everything's taken care of. I do fully recognize that that's costing me some money, but the thing is, I do feel like if you were a real shop and such like that, it's also going to affect your reputation. If you're doing something where the part that you're working on, that part works, but then the car breaks down, within 3 months or something, it's going to affect the reputation of your shop. It's going to affect how people view you because they're going to see it as you just do the bare minimum to get by. And it's not the standard that I want for what I'm doing. Am hoping in the future to do more simulator games like this. I've got a few in mind. I know there's like the supermarket one out there, and there's also a electrician one that I've looked at. And I feel like my mentality in those is going to be the exact same. I want to do quality work, even if that means it's a little bit of extra expense. So I hope that that does clear that up some. I am not suggesting that everyone needs to take off as many parts as I do and such. It's just for myself personally, I want to make sure that the car is as good as I possibly can. I mean, realistically, I can't wait to get to the cars that are my own, that I'm going to be bringing in, selling, everything of that nature, because then I could even address like the paint here and deal with the rust issues on the side panels. This being a customer car, I'm not going to do that, but I am going to make sure that the actual running gear and such of the vehicle is definitely quality. So first thing first here we're doing, let's get back into this episode. We're going to go ahead and take apart all of the underside of the vehicle here. Um, and then we're going to go ahead and separate out the shocks, and we'll separate the tires from the rims. And then we'll go ahead and see what exactly we are going to need to, what we can repair, and then afterwards, whatever we can't repair, what it is we're going to need to replace. Fairly heavy duty back end here. And same as I do on all videos, I think this is one of those areas where I sort of misspoke last week. There are cases where you might not have to replace all of the spark plugs or all of the rubber bushings. But as you will see in this episode, I'm going to, because again, it's one, it doesn't do anything for the customer's pocketbook, uh, and it doesn't really benefit me as far as financially in the game and such. But the fact of the matter is, I feel like it's just a good practice. If this was a car that my family member was going to be riding in afterwards, I would want to know that all of the bushings were at the same level, that some weren't worn while others were brand new. So, since I'm taking it apart to this level, those are the little things that I just feel good in doing. I guess the easiest comparison I can sort of make to that is I recently saw a post on Facebook talking about the company that does Arizona tea. And with Arizona tea, they actually have not raised the price of their canned tea, even though things like the cost of aluminum has gone up and so on. And their mentality for that is they still make a ton of money. So with that, why should they raise the price of the tea and impact their customers? And like I said, I see that as sort of applying here because of the fact that I see it the same with what I'm doing. I can afford to make those little expenses that do affect my bottom line. But you know what? It's going to make the overall product better, and so why not do that? Now, I mean, if you're a small garage that really doesn't have that much extra finance, I can completely understand why you wouldn't. The other thing that my view or version of what I'm doing doesn't take into account completely is the fact that this would be extra time. In the game here, it's a few seconds to, slip off pieces that I wouldn't possibly need to take off as far as for game requirements, but in reality, this could take several actual hours of extra work. And so that's something that you would have to balance in the real world. But I'm doing it within sort of the structure of the game is, I guess, the best way I can put it. Oh, gotta take that drive shaft back off that we put on last week. So I do hope that clears things up for everybody. Because, yeah, I am going a little bit overboard and excessive in the work that I'm doing, but I feel good about doing it that way. So, alright, we got everything off. Let's go ahead and take the tires here. There we go. And we'll separate the first of those. I have a feeling those are just going into the trash in the end, but we'll see. Alright. I just want all the parts available so that way anything that can be repaired will go ahead and be repaired and I won't have to, go back and forth for it. And the last tire here. There we go. Let's go ahead and take that. We'll go over to our bench here and we'll repair what we can. Hey, we actually were able to repair one of the rims, it looks like. Actually, several of them have worked out. That one did not, it looked like. Sort of made that crunching noise at the end. Okay, a bunch of parts there did not work. But on the other hand, a decent amount has been working out, so definitely, since I do plan on either repairing or replacing everything, the repairs are less excessive than if I just was buying everything new. Can't say cheaper really, because cheaper would be just not doing anything with them at all. But I will say less excessive than the other way around. Alright, so with that in mind, now I'm going to organize them by name as I always do, and going to go ahead and go through my shopping list here to replace the parts that I need to. Once that's done, I'll be right back and we'll get back to things. Alright, so I've purchased everything, and I was actually struck by something while I was doing so. And it may be something I've been told before, but I do have really bad memory at points in time. And maybe somebody in the comments does know. I was somewhat wondering, if something is listed in the red, does that automatically mean it can't be fixed? Like, is it automatically just junk then? Or is there still the possibility of it being saved? Doesn't really make that much of a difference right now while I'm doing the story missions and such, but I was thinking about it for when I actually start either purchasing cars or finding ones in barns and such. I figured that's going to actually cost me some money if I'm seeing a bunch of red parts and I don't realize that they could be fixed. So, if you do know the answer, please let me know. I'd be very interested in hearing it. Alright, so we're getting all the tires mounted, we're getting the springs put back together. Really, the most expensive thing on the car, I think, is something I had to replace as it is. I don't think I had much of a choice, which was these tires. These tires ran well over $2,000 for the 4 new tires. So, it does have these off-road tires on it, so... Alright, that's the last one. That's good. But yeah, tires definitely ate into the budget a little bit there. But that I really couldn't do anything about. They were all in the red already bad. So, had to deal with them regardless. So I don't feel too bad about that expense overall. Everything else was fairly inexpensive. I think the most expensive part otherwise was like $300. So not too bad at all. As I said, the tires just, they were the big ouch. I only had to replace 2 of the rims, and they weren't even that bad. So, overall, I mean, a lot of work being done to the vehicle, but I think it's actually going to turn out to be not that bad for the customer overall as far as the expense. Right, let's get the cross member put in. Rear sway bar. Knuckle here. And then we're going to need to put these bushings in. Might as well get those before we start putting everything else in that's going to block the way. And as I was sort of saying earlier about replacing all the bushings and stuff, I think even with the amount of bushings, oh, somehow I didn't take that part off. Need to get that real fast. But even somehow with taking all of the bushings out, everything of that nature, it did not end up costing me that much. I think in total, for all the bushings to be replaced, it was like 250 bucks or something. So not too bad at all. Can this be fixed? It was perfect. So, didn't even have to go buy another part. Put that right back on. As I said, I do fully recognize that doing this kind of work here in the game, what's going to take me video-wise, you know, maybe an hour of total gameplay to do as far as fixing this car up, would in the real world probably be days worth of work. But again, I just feel like doing things the right way is the best answer and the best policy to have in a business, because that way your customers are getting that reliable service. And I do feel like overall customers are willing to pay a little bit extra if they know that what they're getting is quality. Not always the case. I think there's definitely a place and a time for sort of less expensive work to be done for the people who need that kind of work. But when we're talking some of the vehicles that come into this shop and such, they're really high quality vehicles, so I think that the people should be able to expect high quality work being done to make sure that that vehicle keeps running as it should be. And for me, that means reputation also, because even if I'm doing, you know, just a basic oil change on a little Honda, I'm going to treat it the same way as I would if I had a Lamborghini come in that I'm doing a rebuild of the engine on. Because again, every customer should be treated with that respect, I think. this rubber bushing in. Sort of got a close-up view going on here. Not really my favorite, but it's working for right now to get these parts put in. Now let's get behind it some so we can get to these suspension arms. Need to attach the one on the air side still. Get that cap in place. Doesn't look like there's anything left on that side to put together, which is good. Head over here. Get this put in place. And in case you were wondering, I also have been selling off any of the parts that I'm not reinstalling on the car. I mean, some of the parts, especially the rubber bushings, I find that a little bit odd. But people do pay me for them. It's not much money, but my hope would be that they're just wanting the rubber for a recycling facility or something of that nature, and that they're not actually trying to use used rubber bushings on their vehicle. But as I said, I am recouping a little bit of my excessive spending in that way as well. So that way, nothing truly goes to waste, but at the same time, making a little bit less profit for a little bit more assurance that the product is going to be as good as I can have it. Alright, get the sway bar in place. Steering rack. Get the drive shafts put back in. The inner tie rod on both sides. Then we'll start over here with this steering knuckle. Get the outer tie rod put into it. And the bottom suspension arm. And then the upper suspension arm. Was just noticing that a lot of these parts actually do have the word color there, so it suggests to me that at a point in time I may be able to change the color of those items as well, which I do find very exciting, because then, you know, it adds to the customization that I'll be able to do on vehicles in the future. So, looking forward to that. Same time though, as I've said before, we're going to keep progressing through the story missions and continue upgrading our capabilities, because really before I even want to tackle my first car of my own, I want to make sure that I have the paint shop available. And also, as I've been doing in recent weeks, I will want to make sure that I can go ahead and repair parts to the best of my ability. I think there's at least one more level of repair that I can reach, and that way I'll be able to do even more work on repairing parts, especially when I'm working on cars that I'm purchasing and stuff. I want to keep the spend cost down as much as I can while turning out that high quality vehicle. My ultimate goal would be to get it to where it's basically not even so much a repair shop as it is a custom car shop. I do love shows like Bitchin' Rides and, as I've said many times, Wheeler Dealers, those kind of shows. So I would love to get it where I'm finding cars and turning them around for the garage itself at a nice high value. But we'll have to see once we get to that part of the game. It's almost like the game comes in different portions here, and I love the fact that we're working through this portion, having fun with it. I mean, I'm definitely enjoying what's going on now, but I do look forward to when I'll be able to reach that next stage as well and see how that'll be. Alright. So we have 2 rubber bushings left. We have a rear suspension arm left. So some stuff for the back there. Basically is what I somehow missed. Which is not good. But that's why I always do check my parts. Well, there's one of the rubber bushings right there. And I'm willing to bet the other one, yep, goes right on the other side there. Alright. There's the rear suspension arm that I was missing. And then we should be able to put on the cap on top of it, the spring, and then the cap on top of it. There we go. And our inventory is nice and empty. We should have checked all the boxes on the car now. Looks good there. Looks good there. So we are good to go. Total payout is $31,037. So we did spend a decent amount of money, but as I said, we made a decent amount too, so I'm not going to complain about that. Alright, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this episode here. If you enjoyed what I did in the episode, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again for more Car Mechanic Simulator 2018.